The Star Wars film franchise, in particular the latest trilogy, has been at the center of a lot of debate over the past few years, and it's starting to bleed into your standard Orange Man bad NPC levels of everything I don't like or everything I disagree with is because of Mo Russia or a bot or trolls. If you didn't like this movie, you're a troll. If you did like this movie, you're a paid shill. Nothing could possibly be the way it actually is. And I understand why people feel that way, because it is my opinion that Disney is manipulating customer reviews and that Rotten Tomatoes is either part of it or knows about it and is doing nothing. There is significant circumstantial evidence that points to this, and there is an excellent breakdown of data done by a YouTuber who I will link in the pinned comment below. Her channel is Sheila Aliens, I believe, or Sheila Allen, and I'll link to it because she went and purchased 2,500 reviews, had them scraped, and did a data analysis on them that was pretty interesting. Now, I'm going to get into that in a minute, but as I've been recording this, there's been a huge push now, still obsessing with The Last Jedi. Still, Twitter NPCs still obsessing over it. And there was an article that is currently being shared that was written in the New York Times that is titled, "What Arguments About Star Wars Say About Democracy?" Movie series fans are as polarized as everyone else. And I think in terms of a title and subtitle, I agree with this. When I see it as written by somebody with half their head shaved and brightly colored hair, I know exactly what's coming up next. Like a lot of Americans, she says, I have formative memories of my first exposure to George Lucas's epic tale, rebels defeating a planet-destroying empire. By the way, ba-boom! What do I always say? What do I always say about articles that start this way? What did I say in my first video of the day? It's just fake. It's a plea for acceptance. They're putting themselves through and also accepting their own purity test. You know a fake fan if the very first thing they do is put themselves through a purity test. Anyway, she goes on. Star Wars became a new national mythos. It rebooted America's revolutionary origin story and liberty or death values using the tropes of science fiction. Now, however, the movies no longer strike the same chord, just as the America's political system is falling into disarray again. Our cultural myth-making machine is faltering as well. If politics aren't going the way I want, it's because there's a problem with the system. When I say, quote, faltering, I don't mean economically. The Star Wars franchise is among Disney's most lucrative properties, but each new installment has escalated conflicts between fans over everything from character arcs to the diversity of its cast. Filmmakers are torn between catering to the base with its rabid nostalgia for the 70s and 80s movies and striking out into new territory that feels more relevant to the 21st century. That's a sneaky way of writing, you know, I want Star Wars to be this way, and that is, of course, the right way. The cinematic results are uneven at best. We agree. The Rise of Skywalker, released last week, is muddled, an aimless homage to the previous films in the series. Its countless callbacks to the older films feel like an effort to make Star Wars great again, though it does manage to deliver a few liberal-sounding messages. Call it the Joe Biden of Star Wars movies. Because it has a terrible memory? Maybe. Does it smell women's hair? To continue the analogy, you might say that The Last Jedi and The Force Awakens and Rogue One are the Barack Obama tradition. Oh, he gets all three films. Oh, okay. This is another... Is this written by someone like who thinks Obama did no wrong and was the perfect candidate ever? By the way, I did vote for him, and that was a mistake. They gave fans truly diverse cast and grappled with relatively nuanced way with the class and race conflicts that have hovered at the margin of every Star Wars story. They also made fans of the early movies livid. Some used social media to demand that Disney stop with the politically correct storytelling, while others launched racist attacks at the Vietnamese American Kelly Tran. Never happened. No evidence was ever provided. Do not buy this narrative. I'm not the only one that noticed the obvious parallel to American electoral politics. J.J. Abrams, who directed The Phantom Menace and The Rise of Skywalker, noted in a recent interview that the vicious polarization within Star Wars fandom is not a phenomenon restricted to Star Wars. As he put it, this is about everything. True. I'd agree with that. Now, here's where we get interesting. A recent study by Morton Bay, a University of Southern California, digital media research revealed that over 50% of the venom directed on Twitter at Rian Johnson, director of The Last Jedi, came from the same sources as Russian election meddling. Woo! First of all, no, it didn't. Second of all, if you really care about meddling, I'm telling you, look, red hair, buzz cut. If you really cared about foreign meddling in the United States, you would be looking at China. Using the analytical tools that other technologists deployed to uncover Russian influence in the 2016 election, Mr. Bay found that bots, trolls, and sock puppets, or political activists, were using the Star Wars debate to propagate political messages, sometimes supporting right-wing causes, discrimination, gender, race. A number of those users appear to be Russian trolls. Everybody's a troll. It's an interesting way to live your life. It's an interesting way to not accept reality that maybe some people didn't like the thing that you liked, and that's okay. You know, there are a lot of people that liked The Rise of Skywalker. That's totally cool. There's a lot of people that liked The Last Jedi. That's totally cool. But to say those that didn't like it don't exist, or that they are Russian bots, is absurd. It's wrong. It's denialist. It's pathetic. It's childish. I don't understand how these people get through life blaming, you know, a boogeyman for everything that ends the way that they don't like. You know, I think that there is credibility around the discussion of bot activity on Twitter, certainly. But whenever these articles are written, it's like they completely ignore that there are similar bot campaigns on their own side, which is what we're going to get into in the second half of this video. There are absolutely positively positive bot campaigns that happen. And we're going to take a look at the Star Wars Rise of Skywalker Rotten Tomato scores, which, by the way, it may shock you to find out, still at 86% now with 54,000 votes, 53,688. Came across this video. In fact, I believe she tweeted it at me. And there are several important takeaways from this. So she paid somebody to scrape 2,500 The Rise of Skywalker verified reviews. Some of the important takeaways. She had a great graphic that displayed essentially how the audience score continued to increase every single time, with the 86% staying exactly where it was. She also talks about how where she lives in Southern California, there were radio ads that were using this 86% number as a jumping off point. Now, I haven't heard them, but that's what she said.
On the radio here in Southern California, the other day, all I kept hearing was in between the commercials, they had this quick blurb about, and the Star Wars came out this weekend, and 86% of people who saw it said they loved it. So they are using this number actively to get more people into the theater.
Now, of the reviews, she talks about how many of them were not clickable, which would indicate that they are brand new accounts and did not have Rotten Tomato accounts or any historical reviews. And many of the actual reviews contained the exact same verbiage over and over and over again. Words like saga, a great ending to the saga, a fitting end to the saga.
You know, this is very generic. Many other reviews say something like, a fitting end to this saga. Emotional end to the Skywalker saga. Best one to end the saga. Great end to a great saga. A great ending to the saga. Great ending for the best saga. A great way to end the saga. A very satisfying conclusion to the saga. A successful end of the saga. An amazing way for the saga to go out. Nice way to end a saga. Phenomenal ending to a beloved saga.
Who called it a saga? I'm not saying nobody did, because I'm certain obviously some people do, but of all of you, I read the comments. We interact on Twitter. By the way, follow me at The Quartering. It's right now, it's the best way to interact with me. Nobody's calling it a saga. They're calling it a trilogy or the Star Wars movies. It's like they put these words into, you know, reputation management company, and they just pooped out all these positive reviews. Now, nobody's talking about positive botting, but with this data, had they been saying negative things about the movie, I'm positive we'd be seeing articles written about bots tearing down the verified audience score. To show you how biased the media is. Again, I only care when it's something I disagree with people. How come nobody's written about this? This is a statistical improbability, almost impossibility. The percentage chance that 86% has been the exact score since the beginning with no outside meddling has got to be practically zero. Nobody's talking about it. It's interesting. When you look at the text analysis of the reviews, they're all the same. You look at, now the YouTuber also talks about how many people share the same name. There could be something there. There could not be something there. I mean, there are a heck of a lot of John Smiths out there and a lot of Michaels and a lot of Sarahs. But it paints the picture. I'm more interested in the fact that when I look at the audience score of an 86%, if I look at all audience, it's a 78%, which still seems high, but maybe. With 115,000 total reviews. Now, with 53,000 verified reviews, it has an average rating of a 4.3 out of 5, or 86%, 4.31. If everybody who watched this video, who did see the movie, left an audience score, I'd be shocked to see that number drop at all. It's been a week. It still is there. And in the face of CNET reporting, no, half the Last Jedi haters were not Russian trolls. Commentary, numerous reports say the Last Jedi negativity was influenced by Russian bots and trolls, but the reality is far from different. If you're not up to speed, a pre-publication research paper written by Morton Bay, the same report cited by the New York Times, at the University of Southern California, analyzed this data. Bay is a research fellow at the Center for Digital Future at USC and has previously written social media policy in the Trump era. Russian bots, fake news, urinalism in social media ethics. He is also a Star Wars fan. It's safe to say that The Last Jedi has been one of the most divisive films of the past 12 months. The discourse has been vitriolic. The Kelly Marie Tran stuff, who plays Rose Tico, leaves social media, well, again, with no evidence. Bay's paper that states that 50.9% of those tweeting negatively about The Last Jedi were likely to be politically motivated or not even human. This was a major takeaway of the media outlets that stated much of the mentioned negative sentiment directed at Last Jedi came from Russian trolls. But that's not the truth, or at least it distorts the truth. Bay collected 1,200 tweets using Twitter's advanced search function, all of which were directed to Ryan Johnson over a 7-month period. After, quote, cleaning the data set, Bay finished with 967 tweets. He then manually determined whether a tweet was negative, positive, or neutral. Ultimately, deciding the sentiment of any particular tweet was left up to one person. To separate the negative tweets out even more, Bay would search the accounts with high activity for terms such as Trump or SJW to determine their political stance. Of the 967 tweets analyzed, 206 expressed a, quote, negative sentiment toward the film and its director. Of those 206, 61 were real people reported to have a political agenda. 11 were bots. Only 33 appear to be troll accounts. Of those 33, just 16 appeared to possess characteristics with Russian troll accounts. An absolutely false statement destroyed in a single paragraph by CNET, of all people. Disney's up to something. Everybody's up to something. It's been an interesting media cycle. Disney, we're on to you. I hope you enjoyed this video. We'll talk to you again real soon.